So the question, what stage am I in, comes up when someone has tried to understand symptoms that no longer behave the way they used to. What you're experiencing just isn't making sense. They feel alert at the wrong time, drained at the wrong time, steady one day, jumpy the next. It creates a kind of internal guessing game that never quite fits and makes sense. The word stage makes it sound like the symptom moves through clean, predictable steps. It doesn't. Chronic stress pushes the stress response system through patterns. And those patterns show how the brain, the adrenals, and the nerves are carrying that load. They don't define you. They just describe how the physiology is reacting at this point in time. One pattern shows up when the system is still firing quickly. Cortisol jumps around. The mind stays active longer than the day is over. Rest doesn't arrive when it should. The world feels a little bit sharper, louder. Now in this pattern, the body doesn't wait for trouble, it jumps early. Even a quiet moment carries a small hum underneath it, like you're bracing without meaning to. Now another pattern appears after that overreaction has gone on too long. Fatigue sets in, but the body doesn't settle. Sleep comes in pieces. A small stressor sends a surge through the system that feels way out of proportion. Digestion wanders. Capacity shrinks in a way that doesn't match the day in front of you. This pattern feels like you're moving through mud with the brakes on, but there's still a current of adrenaline underneath it. It's an odd mix that just doesn't match your environment or your intentions. Now at this point, people usually want to know exactly where they fit. And that's something I sort out in the initial clinical session, where I take a close look at symptoms and history and how the stress system is behaving right now and what it's done in the past. And a link for that appointment is in the description. But there's a third pattern that forms when the system has been pushed far past its limits. Energy drops, recovery time stretches. The body stops offering an extra buffering. A normal task can feel heavier than it once did. Cortisol doesn't rise with much force. So here the body pulls back, not as a collapse, but as a way of protecting what's left. Energy comes in small amounts and it disappears faster than it should. None of these patterns stay fixed. Someone could move through all of them in a single day or certainly within a week. A poor night's sleep, a stressful conversation, an unexpected responsibility, any one of those can tilt the physiology into a different direction. So the question, what stage am I in? It isn't about diagnosis, it's a way of understanding why the body reacts the way it does when the stress load has been too high for a long time. People who begin to settle their system often notice changes that don't really announce themselves. A reaction that doesn't spike as sharply. A small window of calm where there wasn't one before. A day that doesn't decline as fast. And these shifts don't feel dramatic, and you may only notice them when something familiar fails to happen, like you handle something better than you would have in the past. Patterns move. The stress response system moves. And sometimes the most telling part is how quietly those shifts begin.